Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you, Akim, out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. Now, I just came from doing a live stream, but it was very choppy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a recording and upload it instead on the same topic, dealing with Dr. Brown and his weak arguments concerning the true Hebrew Israelites, which is us, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans in the scattering around the world. Okay, because he's an Amalekite himself. Okay, a small hat, and the thing with these dudes, to show you these guys are not but more than witches. They always got these books behind them, and this is supposed to be a statement. It's not that he reads all these books. It's the fact that this is supposed to mean that, hey, I'm smart. Okay? And the psychology of these lower level people, they believe that. You know, they actually believe that this makes them smart because they got these books behind them. Anyways, that you might be smart in worldly things. You might know where the capital of these different places in the world are, but that doesn't make you smart in the scriptures. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play this video starting from about the 9th minute mark, even before. I'll start right here, okay? And then we're gonna dissect it through the spirit.
Or among other Jews, yes, they are legitimate Israelites. All right, so let's put the PowerPoint up, and I'll begin my presentation. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is first debunk a sample of the worst errors on the chart, and then we'll demonstrate that Ashkenazi Jews are authentic descendants of Israel. I'm fine with basing our debate on patrilineal descent, meaning we trace Israelite heritage through the father. I'm fine with that. I may have some related questions later on, but we'll proceed with the patrilineal argument.
So he speaks, and I want to say something. He speaks about the patrilineal argument as if that's not scriptural. The reason why he's forced to accept it, because that's clearly what the Bible says. That's clearly what the Torah and the Tanakh say. It says that the lineage goes through the father. That's clear throughout the Bible. Okay, let's get Numbers 1 and 18. In this patrilineal debate, this patrilineal way of looking at things destroys that whole DNA nonsense. Okay, this is Numbers 1 and 18. It says, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees, right, meaning their lineage, after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of the names from 20 years and upward by their polls. So how was the lineage determined? It was always determined by the father. It was never determined any other way, even from the beginning, even from the time when you go through when you go through the 12 sons. Okay, the 12 sons make up the 12 tribes. Dinah was also a descendant of Jacob, but whoever she had children by, which is not even mentioned, those would not have been a tribe, because that was not a man. Okay, that was not a man. Okay, this is clear throughout the scriptures. Okay, and even the Hebrew word, because the words have intricate meanings to them, like the word Abba in Hebrew, right? You got the which is represented as Alap, which is a ox. Okay, it's an image of an ox, which also means strength. Okay, then you have Ba, which represents Bayat, the image of a house, which means house. So it's the strength of the house. That's the father, the strength of the house. Now, when you go into son now, okay, son is Ba, and then you got the Na, right? So the Ba is the house, Bayat, and then the Na would be the continuation. So the son is what? The continuation of the house or the lineage, even in the word itself. See? So this guy's talking about, okay, I'll use it. I'll use your argument. No, but that's not our argument. That's the scriptural argument. But he's not going to say that those Amalekites over there with the small caps, that they're saying that the way they're doing it is false and completely backwards, because they don't go by the scriptures. They go by the Talmudi. You see that? So this is how the devil operates. So that's why he had to kind of dismiss it in that way to make it say, yeah, but that's nothing anyway. I'll use your way of looking at it, but there's problems with that too. But I'll use your way of looking at it. This is the serpent, man. We try to tell you, man, this is the serpent.
Now, as for the chart, it's flawed in many obvious ways, including sweeping generalizations, glaring omissions, including the omission of Mizrahi Jews, some of whom had a continuous documented presence in the Middle East for over 2,500 years, among others, and insupportable claims. Of course, the chart you're familiar with, I'm sure Al-Azhar will be getting into it more as we go on. Now, if any part of the chart is false, then the chart cannot be trusted.
Well, hold on. They got the Mizrach, whatever Mizrahi Jew, which your argument is supposed to be for the Ashkenazi. So who's the Mizrahi? Who's these guys? And secondly, the scriptures say that we shall discontinue from our heritage. You know, even the Lord in the New Testament spoke about a falling away first. So how do they know how do they have all this 2,000 years of evidence? So that means they never went into captivity. Hold on, let's get this. This is This is Jeremiah 17:4. It says, and thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage, meaning you will stop remembering who you are. This is speaking to Jeremiah. Jeremiah never forgot that he was an Israelite. This is a prophecy, man. Okay? And thou even thyself shall discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. And this is speaking to the Israelites in general. Okay, and that has happened. You know, the fact of us being scattered and serving our enemies has happened multiple times, but the discontinuing of the heritage, that also happened in multiple instances with different fractions, but it happened at the highest degree after 67 AD. Okay, that's when it happened at the highest degree, specifically in the times of the transatlantic slave trade. All right, so I don't know what he's talking about. These whatever type of Israel guys they're saying is descendants of Israel. All right, which I don't know too much about them. But I'll say this: I'll have to look them up. But if they go back to 2,500 years, they have documents going back 2,500 years. That doesn't necessarily make them Israelites, because that's refutable as well. Do they go back? Do they have proof that they go back to Jacob? Do they have documents going back to Jacob? Or they just saying that they practice Judaism or some form of Israelite customs? Because we had all kind of heathens following our customs. Even the woman at the well was speaking about how she was following the customs. But what did the Lord tell her, man? Or speaking as if she was one of us. But what did the Lord tell her, man? Which contradicts you guys' whole argument. Contradicts you guys' whole argument, man. This is John 4. And I'll start at verse. I'll start at verse 19. It says, the woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is a place where men ought to worship. And she was saying our fathers as if she was one of us when she wasn't. Just like these guys are claiming to be one of us or claiming to be Israelites, and they're not. It says, Yahushua saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Why would he say that? Isn't there going to be a time where Israelites are going to be worshiping the Father in Jerusalem? But she's not going to be them. She's not going to be one of them. That's what he's saying. You're not one of the people. Okay? Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Israelites, or Jews, however you want to say it. Israelites is the correct term. Okay? You see what I'm saying? It says, but the hour cometh, and now is when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, and the Father seeketh such to worship him. Right? So that has nothing to do with her. Okay, just like this has nothing to do with you. Just because they went back to that time, because this was a long time ago too. But guess what? When did those people get transported into Samaria? That was about 2,500 years ago or more. Okay. So what does that mean, man? That's not irrefutable proof, and that they're just saying that. Where's the documents on that? Where's the documents on? He's just saying that out of his mouth. So, it got to be true because he said it. No, who the hell are you, man? So give me a second. I'm trying to look to see. It might be in this chapter here. Okay, let's see what it says here. No, might not be here. Hold on. Let me try to find this. Give me a second. Bear with me. I know it's in Kings, but I'm trying to. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's 2 Kings 17. Give me a second. 2 Kings, the 17th chapter. This is 2 Kings 17 and verse. As a matter of fact, I'll start at verse 6. It says, in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried Israel, the Israelites, the northern kingdom, away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord, their power, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their power. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. Okay, continue down. Right. Now this is verse 24. It said, the title says what? Cities of Israel filled with strangers, meaning filled with heathen. It says, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. So I show you that a bunch of heathen were in the land of Samaria, and that's why the Lord said, what? In the city, none of the cities in the cities of the Samaritans enter ye not. Why? Because there was a bunch of heathens in that land. Okay, after the northern kingdom was taken out. So yeah, you had Israel, and guess what? They were forced to follow the customs. When you read it, it says that lions was sent among them until they sent a Levite priest to teach them the way. So they were following the ways of Israel. They were acting as Israelites, or if you want to call it, Jews. Okay, and they actually started to teach that they were those people, as you saw with that woman at the well, but they were not those people. And that's the point. That's the point. Okay, but dealing with the whole father's lineage thing, again, that disqualifies that whole DNA nonsense, because that whole DNA nonsense, that doesn't go by just the father. That goes by the mother. That goes by this. That goes by that. Your great aunt. It goes by all kind of different things. It doesn't just go by the father. That's the point. So that is not accurate. And it doesn't matter what nation your mother comes from. What matters is what nation your father comes from, because that's where your lineage goes through. You see? But then this guy, I believe later on, he brings up that DNA argument, if I'm not mistaken, showing you these devils are nothing but a bunch of hypocrites, man, which completely contradicts the patrilineal facts of the scriptures.
Keep this in mind throughout the debate. And over the course of Al-Azhar's presentation, listen carefully for factual, historically verifiable, conclusive evidence that connects the different groups of this chart to the specific tribes of Israel listed, not general alleged connections or highly suspect historical anecdotes or convoluted biblical interpretations, but clear, indisputable, historical, scriptural, and genetic connections to each specific tribe.
Why? Because he's carnal. Because these Edomites are carnal. They need to have, everything needs to be specific and clear, and that's why this book is not for them. This is a spiritual book. Okay?
Hang on. There we go. That evidence doesn't exist. And if any point he raises seems to have substance, I'll address it during the times of rebuttal. The Alliance for Black Jews, by the way, claims that there are roughly 200,000 Black American Jews, meaning roughly 0.5% of African Americans. And yes, of course, there are Hispanic Jews, but that is something very different from what the chart claims. So first proof that the chart is bogus, it contradicts Deuteronomy 28:62. There it's written, to Israel in exile, you shall be left a scant few after having been as numerous as the stars in the skies, because you did not heed the command of your God Yahweh. Yet according to the 12 tribes chart, there are at least 400 million Israelites today, including 47 million African Americans, 185 million Central Americans, 126 million Mexicans, 11 million Haitians, and 11 million Cubans. This is anything but few in number. Even if you say, well, the chart doesn't mean that every single person and every single group is an Israelite, you have to acknowledge that the vast majority are not Israelites, in which case you've shot yourself in the foot. Just this one fact disqualifies the chart, especially when you compare this number of more than 400 million alleged Israelites with the Jewish population today of about 15 million people. Which group is dramatically fewer in number. Also, Africans were brought to America from.
Hold on. Let's stop right there. Now, when you read Deuteronomy 28:62, right? Because it says we're going to be few in number, does that mean that we were going to remain few in number? No, because guess what? There's something called multiplication, okay? When these devils came on this side of the earth, they wiped out the Tainos, which are the so-called Puerto Ricans. They knocked them down to about, I believe, 400 men. Right? And the Gadites, the Native Americans, all of they knocked them down to small numbers. They damn near almost exterminated them. But what happened? Through the process of time, right, the Most High allowed us to multiply. Okay? Let's get Deuteronomy 28:62. And it's the same thing with the so-called the Southern Kingdom. Okay? The so-called African Americans, so-called Jamaicans, Caribbean people, so-called Haitians. We were knocked down to few in number when these devils got to us, man. They weren't feeding us right. They weren't giving us health care in them boats, man. A lot of the slaves died before they reached that. I think it was like the majority. So we were cut down to few in number in multiple instances, multiple times in history. But guess what happened? We started to repopulate after a particular time. Okay? This is Deuteronomy 28:62. It says, and we're coming to the point in the earth where it's about to happen again, because there's about to be a lot of hell on the earth, and everyone's gonna be knocked down. Everybody is gonna be knocked down again. The numbers are gonna be knocked down, man. Through the hell and the tribulation that's getting ready to come. This is Deuteronomy 28:62. It says, and ye shall be left few in number, whereas matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna go up to Deuteronomy 28:61. Okay, it says also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And guess what? There's a particular time I'm thinking about in history, which was the pneumonic and bubonic plague, which knocked out about 2/3 of our people, knocked off 2/3 of the Israelites. Okay, the pneumonic and bubonic plague. And that's how Esau was really able to push himself up there in power. That left us few in number right there. You see? So there was multiple times when this happened. It didn't mean that you were going to remain few in number, where you mean you were going to be meaning you were going to be infertile. That's not what it means. That's not what it means. Okay, it said, and ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven. Oh, Salakia. Yeah, right. Yeah. Whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude. And why were we the stars of heaven? Because we're very fertile people. Okay. Because we would be a lot more fertile. We would have a lot more people on the earth if Esau didn't have all this wickedness in the earth, all this contraception, all these deletions of children. Because who leads the deletions of children? The so-called black woman. Okay, it says, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy power. Okay, so that's why that happened. Now, another way that we were left few in number was the fact that we were scattered amongst these other nations. This is Deuteronomy 4:27. It says, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. So another way that we were left few in numbers because we were scattered among the nations. So what does that mean? That means we were spread thin. Okay. We were spread thin around the nation. That didn't mean that we were necessarily the lowest number of people of people in the earth. That just meant that we were spread thin amongst the nations. Okay. So either way you look at it, you devils are through. Okay, and you don't have it, man. Okay. This is Leviticus 26 and verse 22. This is another case, another instance. Other things that used to happen to Israel. Okay, this is Leviticus 26 and 22. It says, I will also send wild beasts among you, and which shall rob you of your children and destroy your cattle and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. Okay, so the Lord used to send different plagues, whether it was pestilence, whether it was wild beasts, whether it was scattering us amongst the nation. These are all curses that were put upon the nation of Israel. That would in different instances, it would knock us down in number. It didn't mean that we were going to remain at that level. That's not what it meant. Okay, but this is what he's trying to portray to you. That means that you're supposed to be constantly the lowest number of people. No. Okay, that's not what it means. Okay, so let's continue.
Several different parts of the continent, which means that those various parts of Africa must have been Israelite as well, potentially adding several hundred million to the number of alleged true Israelites alive today. This is hardly few in number. Second proof, the chart relies on bogus connections.
And that doesn't mean that every single person in these different nations that necessarily fit the chart are Israelites. The scriptures speak about the tares and the wheats too.
One of the proofs that Issachar is Mexico, this is from a speech, a 3-hour YouTube lecture that Al-Azhar gave in July of 2022, I believe. One of the proofs that Issachar is Mexico today is the alleged Hebrew derivation of Azteca from 2 Hebrew words meaning time and congregation, which would supposedly connect them to the sons of Issachar in 1 Chronicles 12:32, who understood the times and seasons. This is utter nonsense. Hebrew Oz means then. It is not a noun meaning time. And there is no Hebrew word teka. Instead, there is a verb tacha, which likely means to follow. Encyclopedia Britannica also points out that the name Aztec is derived from Aztlan, variously translated as white land, land of white herons, or place of herons, in allusion to their origins probably in northwestern Mexico. Similar errors, which are blatant falsehoods and not simply matters of interpretation, undermine the chart on every score. Plus, there is no literary or genetic or linguistic connection between Mexico and Issachar. And I don't say this to mock as much as to help those who really want truth from the Most High. In fact, there's not a
which the word Aztec that he pulled up there, which I gotta look that up anyway. But then it said then. What did it say? Give me a second. Let me bring that back. Right then. And tacha, which is likely to follow. So following, which then I don't know if that's another way. I don't know if another way of saying Az would be time, but I gotta look that up too, because then is a time period. But yeah, I'm not too sure about this. So I gotta look up that particular thing. That was Al-Azhar's statement, but I know the brother, the elder Kasak, he knows a lot about that. You know, he's heavy studied in these different northern tribe cultures, you know, and how they're tied to the scriptures. He's very well versed on those things. But I mean, that was the beginning I wanted to start with. I want to start with that, and I guess I'll do a part 2, and I'll probably look up more on that if I find something on that. But I never made that claim. That was a claim that supposedly Al-Azhar made, and I have to look that up to see if that's a fact. But, you know, the first part that he said with Deuteronomy 62 and 28 and 62 is, you know, is nonsense. It's nonsense. And these are supposed to be his big points. These are supposed to be the points that clearly show that the chart is false or whatever the case, that we're not Israelites. So that first one is done away with. And Lord will, I'll come back with another one. With that, I'll say shalom.